with Mr. Chad Hannekom. Obviously, the news came out this week via Braves matchmaker Yusuf that you'll be headlining the card in Durban. It will be for the inaugural middleweight belt at Brave. So yeah, mate, just tell us what's going through your mind at the moment.
Yeah, what's up, guys? Thanks for having me again, Al. It's always a privilege to do this kind of thing with you. Yeah, I mean, the inaugural middleweight title for Brave has always been something that, when I joined the organization, was something that I obviously targeted. I mean, from the matchups that I've taken from my very first fight in the organization, it was pretty evident and clear that I was fully intending on going after that belt. I mean, I've had the toughest guys in the division from the very start, so there was no secret that that's what my intentions were, and that's where I aspired to be.
Just in that, you mentioned the kind of opponents you faced. How do you think the middleweight division in Brave racks up to what you see locally, like the guys? I mean, obviously, barring guys like Drickus, who's obviously the top of the pile, but below that, how would you compare the rosters?
I mean, if you look at the middleweight rosters throughout the world, I think like in each organization, there's probably 3 or 4 guys that are really good and probably top. But I mean, if we had to take top middleweights from here in any organization, be it Brave, EFC, if we had to match ourselves against guys like in Bellator or KSW or even UFC, I think, I mean, I look at the guys in that top 10 in the UFC, and I don't think that, bar maybe 1 or 2 of the top guys, the champs, that I'd really like be massively overly concerned about. I mean, I look at the top 10 guys, and I mean, I don't even think you could tell me who the top 10 ranked guys are, apart from maybe say number 1 to number 4. Everyone knows Whitaker, Romero, Adesanya. Now, I mean, Darren Till's had his first fight at middleweight, and he's already ranked 5th middleweight. So I think middleweight's a killer division, and I do think there's some good guys out there, but I do think we're all competitive here, you know.
Cool. What is it like now, and how different is camp life, your general life, with the title on the line, an international organization in your hometown, not your hometown, but in your home country? Is anything different, or is it pretty much business as usual?
I think for me it's business as usual. I mean, every fight for me is the biggest fight of my life. I always want to put my best foot forward, and I always want to improve from previous performances, and I think we're always striving to be that 1% better and get our 1% in that fight. So I mean, whether it's a title fight or whether it's just a regular fight, I think nothing really changes for me in terms of preparation. I think in terms of our meticulous game planning in our camps, and I'm always representing my coach, my team, my family, and myself. So I don't think that anything really changes. I'm putting in the same amount of work. I'm always trying to put in as much work as I can, as much intelligent work as I can. So I don't think much has changed. It's business as usual.
And in terms of your fighting career, we got to see you, a very short flash of you in the EFC, and there was a lot of excitement about you, and as quick as it came, it was almost gone. You went off to Brave. There was obviously the Pakistan incident, and like everyone was kind of worried where and when will we see you again. Now you're getting that opportunity to fight in South Africa again. So just talk us through the whole process of patching up the relationship with Brave, making that kind of decision to not be beared down at the EFC and kind of hang around and know your worth, kind of, and step up into an international organization early on and at a young age.
I think for me, EFC was always where I wanted to start out, and I mean, as a South African fighter and MMA athlete, I think as an amateur you always aspire to fight in the EFC, but for me it was something that I'll always hold it dear to me and close to me. And I mean, it's a great promotion and organization, and they do great things for us as athletes in South Africa. But when I looked at the mind map of my career, my coach and I sat down, and it was something that we needed to use at that time and not get stuck within this lull of just being boxed in with one single organization and not get trapped locally more than anything. I mean, that was our biggest aspirations after having trained overseas and been on multiple camps overseas. Our aspirations are always to go overseas and compete there, not just go there for camps and then come back. And we kind of wanted to expand our wings and go to higher things. And I mean, I feel the same way about Brave. I don't think Brave will just be my home forever. I think I have bigger aspirations than Brave. So I think it's all just part of milestones within my career and my journey. I mean, I think everyone wants to fight in one of the top organizations in the world, and if you just go like smartly about it, then I think you can do it.
Cool. You mentioned, or not that you mentioned, what I wanted to say is when signing with Brave, you obviously had a title in mind. You always felt that you would be fighting for that title at some point. Did you think that you would get the opportunity to fight in South Africa for it?
I did not. To be honest, I did not. I always imagined myself winning that title overseas somewhere, but I mean, yeah, with Brave having their plans of hosting events in South Africa, as Yusuf said earlier this week on the podcast, he mentioned that I would always be the guy that they target to headline the South African card. So a lot of negotiation went into that. I mean, this has been going on for about 12 months now. This was last year December that we were having these same conversations about headlining a card, but then there was just no right contenders, and guys were switching divisions, and there was just a whole lot of things up in the air with the middleweight division within Brave. So a lot has happened since then, and even since then, not having headlined the previous card in South Africa, I didn't think, with, like Yusuf said, with the way that event had actually gone, you included, and a lot of people thought that Brave probably wouldn't return to South Africa.
Sure.
So like Brave has said, and like Yusuf said, they wanted a reset button, a Control-Alt-Delete, and they wanted to start over fresh because that wasn't the best representation, and I think it only made sense for them to have me headline the card, and there needed to be something at stake. I think they couldn't have just had a normal standard fight. I think a lot of people have been rallying behind me for a long time for some sort of accolade in my career. So I think that was something that pushed Brave to bring the card back here to South Africa, get the right people on the card, and they needed an enticing headline, and they needed some sort of gold on the line, you know.
Cool. Let's just take a look at that fight. Obviously, the Brazilian opponent you'll be facing for that title comes with a heavy-hitting sort of background, and you know, he's been pulled by Brave as like this big hard hitter brawler. What do you think? How much do you know about your opponent, and what do you think about that sort of fighting style as opposed to yours? Do you think it suits your sort of style?
I think, yeah. I mean, every fight is an interesting fight, and every fighter comes with his set of attributes and his skill set that we have to break down and analyze. And I think with this fight, it's no different to my previous 2, 3, 4 opponents. I think he brings in a unique skill set that he's obviously looking to implement. But I mean, in terms of what he's going to do on the night, and in terms of what I'm going to do on the night, I don't think that it poses like radical problems for me. I mean, he's going to look to come forward with some big power, and I've got a certain game plan that I'm going to try implement, and it's going to come down to a championship fight, and who's able to handle the pressure and who's able to best implement their game plan on the night. Because For both of us, it's a massive opportunity, and yeah, I think let's see who handles the pressure and who can stay composed. And at the end of the day, title fights, it can go any way.
Cool. And the last thing I would say is, obviously it's been a while since we've seen you in action. Nice title fight coming up in South Africa. There's going to be Brave fans that'll be tuning in, as well as South African fans. So just lastly, what would your message to them be?
Firstly, I'm hoping that the South African fans come down to Sabai in Durban. I think our local promotion, EFC, have had some great events there, and I think the Durban fans and the Durban crowd are always really great, and they really turn out in their numbers, and you always usually see some packed cards in Sabaya. So I'm hoping that as many South Africans make the trip as they can. I mean, as mentioned earlier this week, it won't be on the same weekend as EFC, so I think South Africa in general is in for a treat with two big cards back to back within consecutive weeks. So to the South African fans, I hope you'll come down and show your support for not only me but all the other local fighters that are going to be on the card fighting against each other and international guys. And then to my fans around the world, I just want to thank them for all their continued support. I mean, as soon as the news broke out over the last week or two, there's been massive social media support and messages and things coming through for me. So thank you to you guys. I'm sure that I'm going to come there in great shape, and I'll be definitely looking to put my best foot forward, and as always, just try to put on my best performance of my life.